nothing for free.
What's up, everyone? It's your boy, The Business, coming back at you live for episode 6 of The Business. Let's be real. Tonight's episode is going to be based around pretty much the college football playoffs. We're going to talk a little bit about Monday night's game, give you some insight into what it is that we think are going to be some of the pros and cons for both teams. We're going to have a conversation about the expansion of the playoff, and just kind of give you our thoughts on what we think should happen and possibly may happen in the future. We're not going to be the ones to judge that. We're just going to give you some insight into it and kind of tell you what we think. Super happy to have on the guys I got in tonight. I got my cousin Nelson's coming on all the way up in Columbus, Ohio. He's going to come in. He's going to kind of give us some of his insight into what it's like being there in Buckeye country, loving it. You know what I'm saying? And I got another buddy, Jonathan Kimmel's going to come on. He's out here in Florida, but he's a Buckeye fan as well. And then I'm going to have my little buddy Gavin on. Gavin's going to come on and check us out, kind of give us some insight on what he thinks as well. He's been watching all the bowl games with me. He watches a lot of college football. So he's going to give us some insight as well. So, with that being said, The Business, let's be real. Episode 6 begins now. Welcome back, everyone, to The Business. Thanks for coming on tonight, fellas. I'm going to move you guys around. You guys know how I have the screen set up. Appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Nelson, Gavin, Jonathan, true pleasure having you guys come in, join me tonight. We're going to have, like I said, the roundtable of college football, kind of chat about it. Just pick some of you guys' brains on what you guys think, about college football, how it's gone this year with the issues that we've gone through with COVID and everything. At first they were talking like, the season wasn't even going to happen. So we were kind of concerned about that as a whole. And then, some of the teams started playing, some of the conferences started going, and then, other ones started later up. Unfortunately for us, and a lot of us being Big Ten fans, the Ohio State side of things they weren't able to get started when everybody else gets started. So they fell a little bit short in having as many games. And I just kind of wanted to see what you guys thought as far as if you guys think that was something that kind of hurt us, not being able to get so many games in, or if it was a benefit to us by keeping some guys healthy physically, by not playing so many games. Nelson, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I thought, it was a bummer, especially here in Columbus. Everybody was looking forward to the new season, especially knowing the talent that was on the roster. Anybody that follows recruiting knows that they've got, one of the top few classes every year in the rankings. So we knew we had a lot of talent. We had a great young receiver group come in this season. So everyone was really excited about it. And then to see everything get put off due to COVID, worrying about whether there was even going to be a season. You had players like Jonathan Cooper who came back to school. Justin Hilliard came back to school. You had guys that came back to get that last year, and then they were looking at the prospect of not having it. So it was real, on the edge. Everyone was on the edge for a while, but when the Big Ten finally came around and saw the other conferences playing games, find out there was a way to try to do this and be as safe as possible for the players and for fans, people were excited. But I think it's a double-edged sword for the Buckeyes. I think that what you saw in Clemson was them, again, coming into their stride now, finding out who can do what, putting players in position to make plays. You're not seeing as much of a rotation in different positions at this point. So they're just coming into their own. At the same time, it hurt the perception of the conference and of the Buckeyes because people say, hey, they haven't played that many games. They shouldn't be able to do this. But I think when you look, people that know talent, they know who's where, and they know they're one of the best teams in the country, that they've got the talent to be there. And it showed against Clemson, when they finally put it together. They hadn't had a full game where they played 60 minutes all season. So this is the first game where they came out and just were all out the whole time, and the defense played well, gave up some yardage, but I mean that was the quietest 400 yards I bet you Lawrence had all season, because you couldn't tell he got 400 yards passing that game. They kept him out the end zone. I mean, they for the most part, but they put the pedal to the metal on offense, and with the talent they've got, it's hard to stop. I mean, they got too many weapons, man. Too many weapons.
Yeah, that's true. I'm totally in with everything that you said. I totally believe that they were trying to. I think the Big Ten was trying to be smart about it and play it safe and just kind of make sure that we weren't going to have these big breakouts at these universities, and and wanted to make sure that all these guys were safe throughout the Big Ten. Not just any particular schools. They knew that they had contenders. They knew Ohio State was a big contender, and they didn't want to ruin that for us as well. But it was tough. So, yeah, but definitely, was kind of worried about the season. Didn't know what was going to happen. So to see it go off, it was nice. Jonathan, what are your insights? Come on it.
Yeah, double-edged sword with COVID, kind of like it is for every team in every sport. We did get the time away from the game, so healthy bodies throughout the season. Being down here in SEC country, you hear a lot of the Southeastern Conference people jabbing that we shouldn't have been in it. A lot of other teams should have been where we were. We didn't play enough games. Being a Buckeye fan, we know who we were and what we had to put, what kind of team we had to put on the field. So all we needed was the opportunity, and when the opportunity was there, we struck. The other side of the coin is we're going into the championship game without our head coach. That's going to be different. We'll see. Ryan Day has done. You couldn't have asked for anything more since he stepped into the shoes of the head coach. So hopefully he has. I believe he's prepped his guys, and his guys are ready. So coming into the biggest game of the year, it's no head coach. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. So we'll see how the game plan unfolds. I don't know. I didn't know Ryan Day was going to be out. I think you're thinking of Stefanski from the Brownies. Are you thinking of? Yeah. I think you're thinking of Stefanski.
Yeah,
but
he missed the game. He missed the game earlier this season.
He did. He missed that the Indiana or the Illinois game or something like that. I think he was out. Was the Illinois game that?
That's right. I'm thinking wrong. My fault.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, Illinois they canceled. That's the game that got canceled in general. But the next game he had COVID, I believe, and he was out. And Johnson ended up coaching that game. But I'm like, man, did he catch COVID again?
No, sorry about that, Nelson. Didn't mean to get your heart fluttering. We'll see them bright red cheeks of Ryan Day on the sidelines this Monday.
Covered up with the black man.
I thought you were breaking some news, man. I was like, oh,
That's what I thought too. I was like, whoa. I was like, hold on a second. But yeah, right. So Gavin, go ahead. I'm gonna let you, give your input into it as well, and what you thought about this season as far as football as a whole.
Okay, I mean, I think the COVID did have an impact on the season, especially for the Big Ten, because every other conference played, I feel like, a lot more games than we did, but it was only a few more games. So it will have an impact, I think, going against Alabama, but I don't know how much of an impact.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, our schedule for the Big Ten was only an 8-game schedule. So to have a couple of games, kind of knocked off or hurt.
Yeah, it did.
So I think that the regular seasons for everybody else was only 10. Some of them, those that played in the conference games, and their conference.
Going to beat them anyway. So I mean, it's not that you get on the field, you take the risk. There could be injuries involved, stuff like that. But in the end, as far as wins and losses, I don't think anybody thinks, hey, if you would have played Illinois instead of sitting out that week, you might have lost. I mean, and it's the same way for
Michigan. Michigan knew ahead of time.
I think they were trying to make us get out of the Big Ten championship. They were
Indiana was arguing, and had they been any other team in our division in their place, then maybe they have an argument. but we had beat them head to head. So it was hard for them to make the argument that they shouldn't adjust the rule. And the Big Ten really should have known better even to put that rule in place, because everything was just, you had to play everything by ear with COVID. You just never knew how many games people were going to get in. And that was, waiting as long as they did made it even harder for them to try to push in that 8-game schedule. They didn't build in any off weeks. They basically were hoping everybody would get a game in every week. There was no buys. So, that was risky and on its own. So, but then Indiana goes out and loses to a team that's under 500 in Ole Miss. So, I mean, they can't really complain.
Yeah.
Hey, Biz, I want you brought up the team up north, so I just wanted to say we appreciate it and thank you for re-signing Harbaugh. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Gavin and I talked about that last night. I was like, I can't believe they signed him again for another 5 years.
Has he ever beat them?
No, he's 0-5. That's I'm like, is Michigan that much of a glutton for punishment that they're gonna sign this guy on for another 5 years?
Hey, we'll take it, man. We'll take it.
It's really incentive laden, but I mean, if he don't beat them next year, if everything goes smooth with the season, if he don't beat them next year, he'll be out of there.
Oh, I thought he was going to be out of there after this year because I didn't think he was going to be able to beat him this year. And I was like, he's not going to be able to beat him. He's going to be gone because people are going to call for him to be out. Yep. So
they must love him up there.
And they do. They do.
A more Michigan guy than there, man. I mean, he's he played there obviously, and I don't know who they're going to go after if they get him to leave. People talk about Fickle taking the job. I just don't see that happening just because he's a Columbus boy through and through. Grew up here, obviously played, coached here. I just don't see him making that decision. But money talks. You never know, man.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the truth. I mean, I don't think that I don't think that Fickle would do it, but you know what I mean? You never know. Money talks, like you said. And I mean, so it truly depends on, who's the right person at the right time. I don't know if Fickle is the right fit either, though. Fickle's not a killer. Fickle did a lot of his coaching under the Tressel era. And you guys know that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And I love Tressel to death, but Tressel wasn't a killer. And when Urban Meyer came in, we knew Urban was a killer. And you know what I'm saying? And that it was going to change the game for us as a whole and kind of be on, you know what I mean? Like be where it was that we were able to be at with the athletes that we had. It was like, man, we need somebody who can just, not only just step on you, but crush you when you're down. You know what I mean? And that was the big thing. So.
Well, that goes back to my Ferrari reference because Tressel was like, hey, I got the lead. Now I'm going to be real careful. And I'm going to use the punt as the biggest weapon I could have. Whereas Urban Meyer knew from day one he was going to put the gas on. And there were times where he took his foot off the pedal a little bit here and there and probably let people get back into some games. But obviously not many. That he didn't lose very often here. Ryan Day is kind of in that same mold. It's like, hey, look, all these athletes I got to utilize all these guys. You can't have the receiving core that they have. They got, I don't know how many 4- or 5-star quarterbacks coming in the next several classes. You got to get these guys on the field in some fashion and put them to work and let them play to keep them around anymore, especially with the transfer portal the way that it is. We just lost Mookie Cooper, just left. He was a receiver that came in, and much heralded receiver that came in last year's class. He just transferred out to Missouri. So if you got to be able to find and utilize all these guys, and they're trying, and that means playing to the final whistle, man, every game.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I got somebody, I don't know if you guys are reading in the chat, somebody's talking Tom Brady will retire and replace him.
That's what I was laughing about.
That's possible. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I'll tell you what, if Tom Brady brings that Bill Belichick playbook, Nick Saban already has that playbook, and that playbook is boring as shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so boring. Nothing but crosses and cuts and this and that. And
one long.
Yeah, and every once in a while, they'll pop one long on you. So.
Right.
And then our boy Ralphie Mercado jumped in. I'm gonna pop that up for you now. Yeah, he's giving you a shout out. He's like, Tony, you got the man on your show. What up, Nelson? That's cool, Ralphie. What's up, man? I talked to Ralphie actually a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to get Ralphie booked on a show, have him come in and talk about what he's been up to lately, because he's been, he made some moves during this whole COVID situation too. That,
Yeah, he's doing real estate
Yeah.
now on top of the barbering. I mean, he was doing incredible T-shirts that match with, especially you. I know your boy is a sneakerhead.
Yeah.
Ralphie was doing sneakers to match or T-shirts to match with artwork to match all the sneakers that were really, really dope. And he had that going on. Now he's got 2 shops. It's just real good to see him doing well, and real proud of him.
Yeah, and that's what when he and I chatted, I kind of talked about just the inspiration he is to the community. What a big role he plays in the community, for the city of Lorain, and all that kind of stuff, and just have him kind of come on and talk about his story. So, Ralphie, I appreciate you, man, for commenting, giving a shout out to Nelson, dude, and we'll keep rolling. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the expansion of the playoff. We had talked about it pre-show. All 4 of us were chatting about it, and Nelson, you had brought up some good points about what you thought about a future expansion. At least I would say at least to 8 teams, because they're not going to go like 6. They're not going to give somebody a bye in the first. I would think in the first round of the playoff. Does 1 and 2 get a bye? That just seems foolish to me.
Well,
I would think that
in the 8 team, that's problematic. I think in my idea would go to 10 teams, and you give every conference champion about an option to get into the playoff. I just don't think that it's right. The way that it is today, basically, half of the teams in Division I, there's about 130 teams. Half of the teams have no shot. Before they ever kick off a football for the season, they're out of it.
Yeah.
And there's no other sport where everyone competes is supposedly at the same level, but half of the teams are out of it before they ever play. And from volleyball to badminton in college, there's a tournament. You win your game, you win your division, you win your conference, you get a shot. And that's just not that way in football. And the guys that play at Miami of Ohio or Cincinnati, they put their bodies on the line just like everybody else every week. And I think they all deserve an avenue. And it doesn't mean they need to be in the championship game. It means they want a shot at somebody. And that's all they want is a shot. And if it means the first round, look, Notre Dame just got hammered. You see, Cincinnati could have given them just a good game. So, and Cincy's probably got a better defense than Notre Dame does. So, I just think everybody deserves an opportunity to play for the championship, and have that part of it be fair for everyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get it, Kimmel, go ahead, speak your piece on it. Tell me what you think.
Everything wraps around COVID now, so I think this is the first year the NFL went to 7 teams starting off in the playoffs on each division, right? There was a bye, and then there's 6 games or 6 teams in each division. So they're expanding for the first time. To take your namesake, it's all about the business. It's all about the money in college football too. So if the money's there and it makes sense for these people, these alumni and these alma maters and these schools, if the money's there, there's a bigger opportunity for them to jump into it. But as fans, we might want to see it, but until the money's right, we might not see it.
No, that's true. That's true. I think the money factor is a huge factor, but I'll touch on my points after. Go ahead, Gavin. I'll let you talk a little bit about this. I know you got some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah. I'm blank. What were we talking about again? Sorry.
We're talking about the expansion of the playoff, like if it were to go to 8 teams or whatever the case may be.
Okay. They should go to 8 teams or 10 teams, whatever I'm talking about, so everyone can get like an opportunity. Because it's like some teams, like Texas A&M, they haven't gotten a shot in a long time, and like Oklahoma, they probably deserved a shot, and like all these teams, are out there like looking in, but they wanted a shot, but they didn't get any shots. So
I just think that if you give them a roadmap and say this is what you have to do to get into the playoff, it starts with winning your conference, and you have a chance. That way, everyone knows exactly what they need to do. Now, Oklahoma would have got in because they won the Big 12 this year. Some teams wouldn't have got in. A&M wouldn't have got in because they didn't win their conference. But if you know what the goal is and you don't achieve that goal, you have nothing to complain about. There's no ambiguity. You don't have some old people in the room telling you who's good, who's not good. And the other aspect of it is if you have if conference championships matter or get you to that playoff, then you're more apt to have better non-conference games. What happens now is everyone's so worried about losing early because it's going to take them out of the end game that they book games against weak teams that nobody wants to go. And if here I'm in Columbus, I don't want to pay $100 to go watch Ohio State play Florida A&M or whoever that is. But that's the same they want you to go play to see them play Penn State. Like that's not the same football game, So it's just one of those where I think that you play better non-conference games if you're not worried about it taking you out of the mix. I'd love to see Ohio State play Oklahoma again, and they had that home and home recently. But I want to see. I would love to see them play play everyone in their division, a couple games interdivision across the division, and play 2 Power 5 non-conference games, and then that gives you a better. Maybe that helps in seeding down the road. Your schedule, your non-conference schedule, helps your seeding. But I just, I think that in the end, I think it's better for everybody. Everybody gets an opportunity, and I think we get to see better football.
Yeah.
This year, I think I might have wanted to see Florida A&M more than Penn State. At least I would have saw their fans. They might have put up a better fight on the field too.
And nobody.
And Penn State was ranked. Penn State was ranked high at the beginning of the season, man.
It was.
They were like this, climbing up.
Yeah, no, they were terrible this season. It was rough to watch. I think that those filler games, the Appalachian states and all that kind of shit has always been happening for years as far as trying to fill your schedule goes. I think that the way it's broken down now, even with the four teams making it into the playoff, it's almost to where it doesn't even matter. Because it's usually not all conference champions. There's been a lot of times where 2 teams from a conference have made it in, including
Notre Dame.
Yeah, like including this year with Clemson and Notre Dame. And I mean, before we saw Georgia, Alabama, and and these other teams, and it's so it's like, is it a possibility that then we go to an 8 team or a 10 team playoff? And I mean, are we seeing 3 and 4 teams? Like, are we going to see, Alabama, Florida, Texas A&M, Georgia, all from the SEC, all come into play in the playoff of an 8 and 10 team,
right?
Because that's those and what, touching on what Jonathan was talking about, it being the business, those are the teams that are the money makers. Unfortunately, for the Cincinnatis and these other teams that are these smaller schools, they don't have the fan base to follow them to these bowl games and spend the money on these bowl games. And that's why, these bigger teams are the ones making it into the playoff, because of the fact that their fan base is going to go to these cities and spend money on hotel rooms and restaurants and the t-shirts and all the paraphernalia and everything. And that's where, the money aspect side of it comes into play, because like I said, Cincinnati is a cool school. I think that they had a great season this season. Do I think that they deserve to be in the playoff? Possibly. But I don't know if they're a big enough draw to ever get
that changes over time. Like we didn't get, not every school that's playing now has got to that point. I think I don't know that Texas A&M draws fans like they don't draw like what Ohio State does or Notre Dame does or even Alabama. But I think over time that changes, because I think that what happens is I think the distribution of athletes changes if you give everybody an opportunity, because now that kid who grew up in Cincinnati or whatever and thinks I got to go to a Big Ten school or a different school to have a chance to play for a championship. Now you can stay in Cincinnati and have a shot. And I think that over time, all those teams change, and it might be a team or 2 in those smaller conferences that develop that way. So who knows what the fan base does over time. But I think it's like I said, for me, it's about the opportunity, and you see athletes from those conferences go to the NFL all the time, man. So they got players. It's not that they can't play. I got a buddy that played at Miami of Ohio. and he would tell me all the time that it's our first string could play with anybody for a while, but it's the depth. It's when you get to that second string guy. That second string guy is probably a freshman or a lower classman. That's where it starts to come into play, where they deteriorate, the talent pool deteriorates, and they can't hang with the big schools. But I think that over time, that distribution of players might change. It ain't going to happen in year 1 or year 2, maybe 8 years down the road it changes. And who knows what the fans will do at that point. Look at the Final Four. If you get a Cinderella, those people are there. They show up for those games, and it draws ratings. And that draws ratings because it's the chance of what if this team loses to this team? Like, how big a story is that going to be when Appalachian State beat Michigan? Like, people still talk about that. You know what I mean? So I think that you give yourself the opportunity for those kind of stories. And I think it's obviously helped basketball. I don't know why it wouldn't help football.
Wait, who beat Michigan?
No, this was years ago, buddy. Before you were even born.
Before you were born.
I appreciate the fact that you always want to know who beat Michigan. Appalachian State beat Michigan a long time ago.
Who is that?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a little cool. His eyes lit up like, wait, who beat Michigan? You don't.
But look at the small schools on the other side, though. They're jumping at opportunities for to play those big games. Because once again, I'm a fan. I'm all about what's on the field, but they're getting big bucks to play those teams, to be the whooping boy in those games or the potential whooping boy in those games.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at dollar payday.
Yeah, that pays a lot of their sports division. You know what I mean? Playing big schools like that.
Right.
Oh, that's true.
So it'll be interesting to see how even now the big schools come out of everything with COVID, because it's cost a lot of schools a lot of money. Ohio State's football program, that they have, I want to say, anywhere between 33 to 36 varsity sports at Ohio State, and football for the most part funds most of it. And it hurt them to not have 100,000 people in the stadium every week paying 80 to 100 some bucks a pop, 6-7 games a year. That hurt them a lot.
That's true.
Let me ask you this: what do you think if they expand it? Let's say they expand it. Do the games go to the team with the best record, like they do in the NFL, or do they still have bowl games that they go to different cities?
I think
it's the 1, 2, 3. Like how
play at the high, low seed. The lower seed gets the home game, and that first round specifically, and then you can start.
The lower seed gets the home game. The lower seed gets the home game.
I guess the higher seed, like the 1 would host for whatever, But I think you do that. But could you imagine that? Like now, Ohio in that first round, it's Ohio. Clemson sells out in 20 minutes. If we're playing at Clemson that first round of the game, you just keep the money in the community. The school, they still split up some of the whatever they do, however they break up the money between the conferences. And that's the other thing. If you've got a playoff game, that's big money for the lesser conferences down the road if they were to get in, because now
that's incentive.
That
or Cincinnati.
No, definitely.
Cincinnati. I'd love to see one of the Southern teams come play here at the Shoe in the wintertime.
Well, I just think though that somewhat of the tough part for an expansion in the playoff, and I don't know if you guys are with me on this one, is when those smaller schools get into an 8-team playoff, let's just say 8, you now are playing the big dogs. 3 games in a row. Can your team stay healthy, getting pounded by the monsters who do have all these scholarships and everything else that's fed toward these big schools? That's going to be a tough thing to deal with, because of the fact that, like I said, a lot of those schools, Cincinnati's conference, Boise State is a good one for us to always bring up from the West Coast. Like Boise and Oregon and all those schools over there, and that were all talked about just a couple of years ago. But we never could hear enough about Boise for the longest time. Like, they should be able to get into a playoff sometime whenever they do a playoff. And I'm like, Boise would get smashed in a playoff.
Yeah, right? It would.
Like, let's be real,
They did beat Oklahoma once.
They did. But that's what I mean, though. They beat them once on a one
Right.
bowl game kind of thing. Like,
Right.
could they beat three big teams? Could they beat an Oklahoma? Could they beat a Clemson and beat Ohio State in 3 games in a row?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
It would definitely be a challenge, but I think every player on those teams would tell you they just want a shot, and they might get hammered that first game. But I mean, like I said, we're seeing teams that we thought were better than that get hammered now. So I don't know that the outcomes are real different, but it's just the fact. It's just the opportunity. Who knows what'll happen with it, but we'll see. We'll see what they do. I think I think it's eventually going to happen because you're right, Jonathan. It's about the money. And when they find a way to make the money work on this for everybody, it's going to end up happening. And I don't know how much longer we have with the contract at this point with the current CFP playoff. But I think once the renegotiation comes into play, we're going to see an expansion because there's people that are, people get upset. You see, A&M was upset. All these guys, bummed out about not having that chance. There's just, they say any given Saturday, man, anything could happen, so.
Hey, I have something to say about Clemson. You saw those 2 games and they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. Like, what are they gonna do without him? Without Trevor Lawrence?
Well,
that was their backup wasn't prepared to start, I think, and by next season they'll have him ready to go. He's a big dude. That's a big kid.
He threw for 400 yards against Notre Dame that first game.
Yeah. And I mean, he had a great comeback against Boston College. I mean, both games, and I think that's what exposed Clemson was that their defense wasn't that good in either one of those games. Boston College hung up a lot of points, and then Notre Dame hung up enough points to beat them in a shootout in overtime the following week, So, they struggled. I don't think the struggle was more on the offensive side as it was on the defensive side of things. So we'll see what Clemson's able to do next year.
Or they could just bring in a new kid or something like that. Which is
always possible.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're going to see what happens with Alabama because they gave up 48 points to Ole Miss early in the season, and again, that could just be early in the season before the defense starts to gel. But they've got weaknesses too. I don't think their back end of their defense is great, and with the receivers that we have, and if the line holds up, we could have a big day throwing the ball, man. We could have a really big day throwing the ball.
I'm gonna let you go ahead and get into it. We're gonna go ahead and start chatting about the college football national championship that's gonna be here Monday night. January 11th down in Miami, Florida is the game. So we're excited to watch it. I know Gavin will be watching it with me. He probably won't make it through the whole game. He'll probably be asleep by the third quarter.
Or mom will make me go to bed.
Or his mom will make him go to bed because it's a school night.
Right.
So
I already took off Tuesday. I already took off work Tuesday. It is what it
is. Kevin, I'll write you a note for school on Tuesday, man.
Yeah.
All right, you're staying up with Pops. So yeah, I mean. So I don't know if you guys want to kind of get into my outlook to it is we're gonna kind of shoot both pros and cons on both teams. Talk about like I said, Alabama's pros, Alabama's cons, and then we'll get into Ohio State's pros and cons, and then we'll talk about impact players of the games on both sides, and then we'll do our predictions. So. We'll start with the Alabama's, the Crimson Tide's pros. If you guys kind of want to, give your insight onto what you think Alabama's good at, what they're best known for this season, and what we need to look at as far as being Ohio State and keeping an eye on. Go ahead, Nelson. I'll let you get started with it.
Man, Alabama. I mean, obviously they're uber talented, man. They've got, like I said, they're up there with the talent they have on that team is incredible. They're so deep. You think about the receivers alone, who they've had in the last handful of years: Jerry Jeudy, Julio Jones. All these guys are just like a turnstile, man, of talent. And if Waddle's healthy, it'll bring a different element to this game if he's in. I don't know. It might just be gamesmanship that they're talking about him possibly playing at this point because it makes you waste time even having to prepare for him. Not that Smith isn't already enough to worry about. But, offensively, Sarkisian has done a lot. They're multiple. They can do a lot of different things. They can run the ball. They're throwing the ball stuff over the middle. They can beat you with the deep ball. It's really going to come down. But just defensively, I don't even know. Other than looking at the roster, there's nobody that's jumped out to me this season on their team that makes me – I don't know of any household names on their defense this year. And that's, again, where they've given up points to anybody with over 500 record they played this year is that they've averaged over 25 points against Alabama. So I like to think that our offense could be able to do better than that. And if we can make a handful of stops, the game will be real interesting for sure.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan, what you think?
Well, Mac Jones, he completed 77% of his passes over 4,000 yards. He had like 36 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That offensive line is pretty deep. It's pretty stout. I think the game, like most games, is going to be won and lost in the trenches. You got a lot of the flashy players on the outside, the wide receivers on Alabama, Najee Harris as a running back. But our defensive line, my thoughts are, because of the wide receivers, I think we need to keep our linebackers and a lot of our backs looking for those wideouts. I mean, for those wide receivers, and hopefully our D line just gets in there and puts some pressure on them. Mac Jones got sacked, I think maybe 17 times or something like that. Their offensive line's nice. They reload just like we do all the time. So we really, I know we're talking about Alabama's pros, and I think their wide receivers, as everybody knows, are really are real standouts, and I just think that's where they're going to excel. I don't think that the running game is going to be as strong. I think our D line is pretty nice. Maybe we throw in a few blitz packages every now and then, but other than that, if Ohio State stays back, maybe they limit those powerful wide receivers, but they'll put up points. The over is like 75. It's going to get real close to that. That's a lot of points, but it's going to get real close to that. I don't know if it's going to get that many, but it'll get close.
That's true. All right, Gavin, what you got? I know you got some stats that you got. So
some notes down.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think the biggest pro is that Jalen Waddell's coming back. I think that's the biggest pro, really. Is that he's coming back.
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Matt how many yards he's thrown this whole season? He's thrown 4,036 yards this season. So so
no, I mean, I think Mac's going to be big. I think Najee Harris is going to get shut down. I think that was shown with the Clemson game. ATN is a big part of what Clemson does, and Ohio State was able to slow him down and made them almost one-dimensional. And I think they're going to try to do that to Mac Jones as well, because of the fact that, and listen, he's got some great receivers there, and that's what's going to be huge, is the fact that the speed of Alabama has been what has been able to kill every single team that they've played this season. Devontae Smith is out of this world. If Waddell comes back, it's going to be, even if he is just, window dressing and he's out there just to take a defender off to that side, it's still an issue, you know what I mean, that we're going to have to worry about. Billingsley is somebody else who is huge for their passing game. He's big on their cuts and just, like I said, it's just based on the speed of Alabama. Even Najee, if they can get Najee out of the backfield and kind of hit him with the screens and stuff, I don't think him running up the middle or even around the edge is gonna work for them very well. I think they're gonna struggle, and then it's gonna be a good run though. And I think though if Alabama's able to make it a shootout, that's where they're gonna thrive at it because of the speed of the game.
I have one more that throw I have for Alabama.
Okay.
So since 2007, Saban has his record is 169-23. So he's won 169 games and lost 23 games.
Oh,
You know what one of those games was, Gavin? The 2014 college football championship game.
the only time he's faced up against Ohio State. And that's
You know how many rushes Mac Jones has this year?
How many?
One 10-yard run. That's it. He don't get out of the pocket. We put pressure inside, but we're talking about Alabama's pros. He gets rid of the ball quick. Ohio State held Etienne. You brought up Etienne. They held him to 44 yards rushing. Clemson to 44 yards rushing. I don't know what he usually averages.
Etienne.
What's Etienne? You like that
Yeah.
Well, he cost himself some money because if he had gone to the league last year, he would have went high in the draft. And I think between him and Sean Wade cost himself some money this year. So that's the scary part. Wade struggled against any couple top receivers this year. If Alabama gets Waddle back and you got basically two number one receivers, that could be real scary for the defensive backfield for the Buckeyes. The defensive line in the Clemson game showed more pressure than they really did all season on anybody. They really disrupted Lawrence in this game, and they didn't get to him a ton as far as they put hits on him. They hit him, they knocked him down. We didn't have a ton of sacks in the game, but the ends were really, really active. And Togiai inside is just a beast, man. Him and Garrett are just a beast inside. I mean, good pass rushers for D tackles, especially Garrett. They get their hands up, they knock passes down, and that goes to what Jonathan spoke of about quarterback for Alabama. In that's one element we don't really have to worry a whole lot about the way we did against Lawrence. After what Lawrence did to us last year, we had to pay attention to that this season. If somebody had to spy him or whatever. But with the way Werner plays, Werner is great defending running backs out of the backfield. He did that against Clemson really, really well. And like you said, they were able to kind of keep him contained. And it makes the other team have to take a little more chances, to make plays. And then that's when mistakes happen sometimes. We just hope that happens. Everybody in the world knows my disdain for Tuf Borland. And I don't know how often he's going to be on the field in this game because I don't know who he can guard or if he can guard anybody in this game. But he's great. He's good against the run. But I tell you what, a couple of the guys have stepped up. The other for number 47, his name is skipping my mind right now. Other linebacker, he had Hilliard. Justin Hilliard had a great last couple of games. He's all over the place. He's flying, making plays from that end, from that other position. So if the defensive backs, the backside of the defense can hold up, I'm real confident in what the D-line and the linebackers can do as far as against the run. We can keep from leaving tight ends wide open over the middle of the field, stuff like that. I think we've got a really, really good shot because offensively we're scary. And I think when we unleashed those tight ends last week, it gave Alabama something else to think about because now there's more weapons. How do you guard all those people? And it can be, it's a bummer that they've only played 6 games because I think they could have done some really other special stuff this season.
No, definitely. That's true. I think that Alabama's got a tough team. We all know that. We're not. Nobody's doubting that. I just truly feel like Alabama hasn't seen anything just yet, like what Ohio State's going to bring to them. So, exactly. I guess let's talk. We touched on Alabama's pros. Let's touch on what Alabama's cons are going to be. What are the bad things that Alabama's not so good at? And let's see if we can hit some points on that. Go ahead, Nelson. I'll let you get started on it.
Yeah, I just think defensively they've given up some big plays here and there this year against obviously against much less, pretty much everybody is lesser talented than Alabama. But I think I think it just makes them gettable on the defensive side of the ball. And, offensively, you can't knock them because of the talent that they have. Harris out of the backfield, he's just a tremendous running back. Like I said, with the receiving core, and Jones is a real steady, obviously accurate quarterback. And you don't have to be super accurate when your guy's 5 yards from the next guy, guarding him sometimes. And I don't know how much, if we're able to close that gap in this game, hopefully against them. But I just think defensively, if there's a weakness for their team, it's that they can be scored on. And I think we're way more talented than Notre Dame, and Notre Dame put some points on them. So I like to think that we got a shot as far as that goes. And it just becomes a foot race, man.
Oh yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you shoot next.
I think Nelson brought it up a little bit earlier. Both Ole Miss and Florida put up 46 plus on them. They're ranked 17th nationally in defense. But I mean, I think once again, Nelson said they haven't seen anything like Ohio State yet on the defensive side. So I'd love to see Ohio State come out strong. And here's something that is interesting to me. And I've watched this over the years when coaches are about to go to other offensive coordinators and defense coordinators or other head coaches that are about to go to other schools. How much interest are they going to have in this final game? So Steve Sarkisian, he's about to leave. So if we start hammering him, how much interest is he really going to have? He's like, I just need to get done with this game. You know what I mean? So that could come into play. They're vulnerable. They're vulnerable on defense. But once again, Ohio State's vulnerable on defense. I said we might not reach that 75-point over/under, but after we're talking about this, maybe we will, because they both can put it in the air. They both can run the ball, and they'll both put up a lot of points. It's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Go ahead, Gavin. I'll let you put your insight into what's some of the cons on Alabama.
So this season, this season they have given up 17 to 109 sacks yards lost. So they've lost 17 to 109 yards.
That was something that Jonathan touched on earlier about how many times Mac Jones had been sacked, and 109 yards for loss is huge. And I mean, if he's not coming out running the ball, if he's getting pressure put on him, I mean, it's definitely going to be an issue. So,
and then this came right from my head. Florida, they made Alabama, like, they showed everyone the weakness. Like in Florida, like, they just lost the game, like, and they were all feeling like losers, but then they almost beat Alabama in the SEC championship.
Yeah,
Right.
well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, they put up a lot of points, but once again, I think Alabama didn't. Opponents of Alabama didn't come within 15 points when it came down to it of any game. So even though they're vulnerable, when it came down to the bottom line at the end of the game, Alabama still was up at least 15 points every game this year.
Yeah, and 11 of the 12 games that they played, they won by a score of more than 15 points, which is true. Because I think the only one that it was a close game with was the Florida game. I think they only beat Florida by 6 points. It was like 52-46 was the final score to that game. And it was that the Ole Miss game was so early in the season, but it showed that they could have a lot of points hung up on them. But when they got a lot of points hung up on them late in the season, after the beating that Florida had taken to LSU, when they got beat by LSU and kind of got caught by surprise, they were stunned, and then went and came into that Alabama game firing. Were excited to just be playing in that game. They really had nothing to lose. Got into a shootout with Alabama. And most teams that get into a shootout with Alabama, you're not going to win. So, that's where I think, is where it's going to come down to. I think it is going to be a lot of points scored. I think that Alabama's defense is very suspect. Like I said, I think that Florida did, show everyone the blueprint on how to beat Alabama. The big thing is stopping Alabama on the other side of the ball, though, and not being able to let their offense get on the field. And I think that we're going to do a good job of that. But we'll touch more on that when we get into the pros and cons of Ohio State.
And then for anybody listening, when you say Alabama's defense is suspect, this is really compared to other defenses Alabama has had, because they've had some just tremendous defenses over the years. But in general, the SEC has not been a great defensive conference this season. Georgia's probably considered the best defense in that conference right now, and I don't even know where Georgia finished. But yeah, it's just not the same type of defense they've had in recent years. I'll say that.
That's true.
It's true.
Looking like the Big 12. SEC looking like the Big 12 this year.
Sure. Right.
Where everybody's just throwing up. I mean, it's the truth, because the Big 12 is like, for real, every single game is like 40, 50 points. Both teams just crazy, just throwing the ball up, and everybody's going to get it. And I mean, it's entertaining as shit to watch, but it's definitely ugly.
Right.
It's definitely ugly defense.
Right.
So.
Right.
All right, let's kick it off onto the Buckeye side of things. Let's talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes and some of the pros that they've got going for them, and kind of touch base on that, because I know with us all being kind of Buckeye fans, I know we're going to have a lot to say about this point. So Go ahead, Nelson. I'll let you go ahead and get that started.
I think it starts with the O-line. Other than a couple games where we've had a lineman out for COVID, other than that, they've stayed healthy this season. And I think that when they're healthy, they're one of the best lines in the country. And they showed that against Clemson. I mean, they just manhandled them, and what they did against Northwestern, who you saw what they did in their bowl game. They had a good defense. And so I think that for people that question whether or not they had a good defense in general, because they were ranked pretty high during the season in the nation, what we did to their defense and then what we turned around did to Clemson running the ball and just manhandled the whole game is just incredible. So if they can protect him in the passing game the way they block for the running game, they're going to be able to produce and put some points on the board. The receiving core is great. I'd love to see some more of the young guys get some balls thrown at them, because I think that if you become more multiple to the point where people have to guard even more people and really pay attention to them, you become more dangerous. And I think in the games where where they're better offensively, they're spreading the ball around a little bit. Real early on, we got to just Olave or throwing it to Wilson only, those two guys. But when you make them think about other players, you make the defense think instead of just react. And I think that's a big deal. And between the offensive line and the emergence of Trey Sermon, I can tell you that I was not real impressed with him early in the season. And granted, he was coming off of an injury, so who knows how hesitant he was to really go hard, in the paint, I guess, to say. But what he did in that Northwestern game, we didn't see that really all season. Now, he had that big run the game before, but, I mean, how hard he was to tackle in that Clemson game, I mean, to put on the ground. He had guys hitting him. He's keeping his balance, putting his hand down, going for extra yards. I mean, he probably picked up a handful of first downs after third contact sometime on some runs, and it was incredible. So if we run the ball like that and it opens up the play action, they're going to be dangerous on offense in this game.
Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you shoot next.
Yeah. I think Ohio State's about to get religious and preach that sermon to Ohio State or to Alabama this Monday night. If Sermon just did what he did against Northwestern and then he just kind of fell off a little bit, but then he came back and did it against Clemson too. As cool of a name and as much as I wanted Master Teague to do something this year, we talked about transfers a little bit earlier. What a big uptick it was for Trey Sermon to come off that injury and do what he's doing. Right. With the passing game, and we talked about Mac Jones not leaving the pocket. When Justin Fields, he's a threat every time he has the ball to get out of that pocket. So Alabama's got to adjust to that now because they don't know what he's going to do. We can focus in on that pocket with Alabama's quarterback, but with Alabama's defense, what are we going to do out of the backfield? I think it was, and everybody saw it. Once again, we're all Ohio State fans, but what Justin Fields did after that injury was impressive to me. You saw on his face, he's not a powder puff. You saw on his face and in his actions when he got on that bike how much it hurt. But still, to throw those deep balls like he did, I mean, that was a straight shot to the ribs. And I think was it a shot to his right side, his throwing arm? Was it to his throwing side?
Yeah, he took it to the right side.
So I mean, and then to be able to throw those deep balls accurately that way, that was just so impressive. He's going out on a high note. I think we talked about somebody losing money on a game. ATN losing money. I think Justin Fields is going to win him some money this coming up game. There was already talks after last game. Should Jacksonville get him instead of Trevor Lawrence? If he has a good game, and even if Ohio State doesn't win and he has a blowout game, just like he did against Clemson, that talk will still be there. But the offense. It's going to be an offensive battle, and we'll see who pulls it out.
That's true.
Real
That's
quick,
true.
and what you said about how impressive he was after that injury was the fact that he came out and, when you got a guy like him that can beat you with their feet and they have to worry about that, they knew after that injury he wasn't going to run very much, but he still beat him with his arm. And that's what was impressive, is that he beat them throwing accurate passes. The deep ball was just incredible that he threw the rest of that game. Like you said, to torque your body that way after that injury, and you saw how painful it looked for him right after the injury. But to do what he did when they knew he was going to throw the ball was just as impressive.
That's true.
Right.
No, go ahead, Gavin. I'm gonna let you shoot about the pros on Ohio State. Go ahead, Bubba.
Pros. So, I mean, last game, Justin Fields, he had 6 TDs against Clemson, and he had 385 yards. And then this would be a pro and a con, I think. I think it would be helpful in some ways for Ohio State and not as helpful in other ways. Fields recovering. Like you saw last game, he did really good whenever he recovered. When he went back out there. So I don't know if he's gonna do what he did last game, or if Alabama's gonna
Yeah, and be able to attack them for sure. And I mean, I think that's a good point. I mean, I was going to kind of bring that up as one of my cons too, is Justin Fields' health. My pro to them is definitely going to be the offensive line and how they're able to push as well, and slow the game down with Trey Sermon, because that's truly how you're going to have to beat Alabama, is by slowing the game down, running the ball. They showed that by doing that to Clemson. They kept Trevor off the field for a lot of that ball game. They were just pushing the ball, having long drives. Did they have a couple, deep shots in the game? Yeah, they did. But for the most part, they were just pounding the ball, pounding that rock down the field, and keeping Trevor off the field. And that's how you're going to have to beat him. I mean, and that's how you're going to have to beat Alabama, because of the fact that Alabama is so high powered. And we were talking about it earlier, that, it's going to be that kind of situation where in order to beat them is to keep them off the field, because you don't want to get into that shootout with Alabama. So definitely, I think, Nelson, you touched on the offensive line. Kimmel, you were touching on, Trey Sermon and what it is that he's going to be a factor to. Gavin talked about Justin Fields, and I think, just that offense as a whole is going to have to. They're going to have to be able to slow the game down, drive the ball slowly, smartly, keep it on the ground, not try to throw the ball around, and that's going to be how they're able to take it to Alabama. So I think that, definitely their offense is going to be their pro for sure.
Yeah, they're going to have a good game. I feel it.
Well, that was a Notre Dame coach. What's his name? Brian
Kelly.
That was
Kelly.
his whole Chip Kelly. That was his whole game plan. I mean, they talked about it. He talked about it before the game. Keep Alabama off the field. Run, slow the clock, slow the game down. You see how successful he was. He was successful for a little while, but Alabama will break it loose, or did break it loose afterwards. Not to preach the same sermon, but how Trey Sermon breaks those tackles and gains 5+ yards, not only on runs but on receptions. That's a big deal out of the backfield. He's catching the ball too. Alabama is holding players to 3.2 yards a carry. So if we can run a little play action, you got a little bit. You're worried about Justin Field running out of the backfield, and then you got Trey Sermon running out of the other side. That's mixing up the defense. So there's opportunity there for big plays.
Definitely. All right. Unfortunately, we have to get to the part where we talk about the cons of Ohio State. We kind of already know. I mean, I think all of us are going to kind of somewhat touch on the same subject of it, and it's going to be, defensive backfield is going to be the con. So, I'll let you guys go ahead and elaborate, though, a little bit more on that. Go ahead, Nelson. That may not be your con to it, totally.
Well, I love Kerry Coombs, but they missed Jeff Hafley a lot. When he left to go coach Boston College, he had them playing nasty last year. And I don't know if it's just the concepts, the approach, how they play balls in the air. I mean, everybody's got their own philosophy. And even though Coombs puts a bunch of guys in the NFL, it happens. He's known to do that as well. But just something about the back end of the defense isn't the same as it was last season, and it changed. And yeah, they lost a lot of players. I mean, they lost everybody on the back end. They had to replace that whole side. And I think for sure everybody thought that Wade would be that lockdown kind of corner, and it just hasn't really materialized. And he'll probably end up being a slot guy or even a safety in the league. Given what's happened this year. But like you said, it's about keeping them off the field and keeping that defense fresh, because if they're out there a lot, eventually they're going to get beat. And it comes down to, you said, the offense holding the ball, some long drives, giving them time to breathe and a break, and then putting Alabama in a position to take more chances than they want to take sometimes. And that's when we can make some plays, some interceptions or something in the backfield. I mean, what's the safety number 41? The kid. He had last 2 games. He had balls right in his hands. He dropped them. Or at least one of them would have been a pick 6. But this is his first year playing as a starter back there. But those plays will start to come. And obviously it'd be great for them to have it happen in a game like this. But yeah, it just comes down to I have no doubt that we can stand up against the run. Nobody's really run on us crazy this season. We've had a couple guys have some big runs here and there, but 2 years ago we had guys running all over the place, so they've developed up front. We're deep up front, and so it really comes down to defending that pass.
Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you talk about
it. You brought it up a little bit earlier, and I won't touch on it too much so you can talk about it, but Justin Fields' injury, we don't know exactly how he's going to be. I mean, if you ever stub your toe, it hurts right away. But that whole 2 weeks after it hurts even worse. You know what I mean? So, and it's just a nagging injury. And this dude's talking about ribs. We don't know. I don't think they've come out and said if they were cracked or if it was just an injury. They're downplaying it, which that's what they do all the time. Mm-hmm. But we just don't know how it's going to end up. The inability, we've talked about it a little bit already, the inability of our cornerbacks and safety to stop the big play in the pass game is a huge con. Our D-line is strong. Our linebackers are strong. But, with Alabama and their superstar wide receivers, it's going to come down to that, and it's going to come down to Justin Fields and how he's going to be, whether he's injury plagued or not.
Yeah, that's true. Go ahead, Gavin. I'll let you shoot it.
Okay. Yeah, the Fields injury, that's going to hurt them. Like I said, that's going to be my pro and my con. And then, yeah, the Buckeyes defense is it's gonna be suspicious kind of. Wait, no, not the defense though.
Well, the defensive backfield, yeah, the defensive backfield will be. And I think that you touched on good points with the Justin Fields thing, and I mean you kind of brought it up earlier in your pros and cons about Justin Fields. I mean, and we talked about that you know how bad is the injury. We obviously know he's not going to be at 100%. He did fight hard in the game against Clemson, but a lot of that was based off adrenaline and just kind of wanted to be in that matchup. You know, he had something to prove in that game. I think he was tired of hearing all this talk about Trevor Lawrence and how Trevor Lawrence was the best college quarterback of all time, which I don't understand.
Him in high school or whatever, like high school thing.
Yeah. When they were back on before QB1, you know, they had their quarterback matchup, and Justin beat Trevor then at that point too, and was the number one quarterback in the country. Coming out of high school. So I think that, you know, he wanted to prove something. I hope he still wants to prove something. But, you know, I think the big con to Ohio State is going to be definitely their defensive backfield. It's going to be based off of Sevyn Banks because he's going to be opposite Wade. So he's going to have to guard whoever Wade's not guarding. They haven't really said if Wade's going to be stuck to guarding Devontae Smith, and I don't know, you know, is he fast enough to guard Devontae? Possibly.
No.
Wade's pretty quick, but Devontae's like stupid fast, and you guys know that. You know, we've seen lots of plays this year. Devontae has, I want to say, 5 touchdowns. And if you watch most of them, you know, Mac Jones doesn't do anything special. He just throws the ball up in the air and lets Devontae go get it, you know, and that's what's going to be tough. And then whoever's on the other side of the field, meaning Sevyn Banks, who's going to be guarding, like, who's he going to be guarding? Is he going to be guarding Waddell? Is he going to be guarding Billingsley? Is he going to be guarding Mechie? Because all of those receivers, that receiving core that Alabama has is really going to be tough to guard. And like we've all said, we think that our defensive line and our linebackers are going to be able to shut down the run. It's going to be based truly on the pressure that they're able to put on Mac Jones and make him start to move out of the pocket, start to make him throw the ball when he's not ready to throw the ball, when his feet aren't planted, not be able to toss up those big bombs to those guys so that, you know, our guys look foolish in the back. But definitely our defensive backfield is what's going to be suspect. And I think that, you know, it's going to be tough, but I think, you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
We get pressure. Go ahead, Nelson.
Well, I was going to say is what was interesting in the Clemson game was our best defensive series were when we were pressuring receivers on the ball. Early on in the game, Wade, the corners were giving them all kinds of yard, you know, cushion. And they were throwing these short passes. I mean, where they're coming off the line 4 or 5 yards, picking up chunks at a time. But when we played on the ball with the pressure we were getting on them, like you said, you're going to make that quarterback have to make a decision. He can't make that read right off the line by looking over and seeing somebody's giving somebody a 7-yard cushion off the line of scrimmage. We played better in that setup. So it'll be interesting to see if that happens. The other last thing was about special teams. Blake Hobble hadn't been healthy for a minute, our kicker. And we really haven't had, I mean, he hasn't had to kick any kind of real big time pressure kicks in a little while. And we got a young guy behind him that's filled in for him, but I don't think they've made any real long kicks. They haven't been in a position to really need to. But in a game like this, that might come into play, and that could be a con for us because, you know, I don't know where Hobble is. He's had some kicks that haven't looked great. He's missed a few, and, you know, this will be a test for him if it comes into play.
Yeah, we put that pressure on Mac Jones. He starts throwing the ball around. We'll have a bunch of Malik Hooker Juniors running around trying to grab the ball and take it back for 6. I like to see that.
Yeah.
The early part of the game, I mean, you know, Justin Fields got hit and got knocked out of the game. I'd love to see Mac Jones get hit a few times early. get him a little sketchy in the pocket. We know he's not going to run the ball, so just get that pressure in that pocket. That's going to be a big deal.
That's true. All right, well now we're gonna touch on impact players of the game. We're gonna talk about who each of us think possibly is gonna be the impact player on each side of the field. You can touch offense, defense, coaches. If you want to talk about, if you think the coaching. I was watching a show earlier today, and they were talking about how they thought Saban could possibly be that big of a factor on his game plan. So so go ahead with Alabama's impact player of the game, Nelson.
Really, I mean, mine is I guess it's him and his counterpart on the other side of the ball as far as defensively. I think it's if they can run the ball. Geez, why is his name slipping my mind right now? Najee Harris. If he has a big game, it means that Pete Werner probably isn't doing something good on our side. He's great at defending guys out of the backfield, and he's a good blitzer as well. So if those two can really just kind of counteract each other and really, that would be great. If we can have Pete Werner shut Harris down, that would be. I think we have a good shot at winning this game if that becomes the case. But if Najee Harris has a big game, I think it's gonna hurt us because we're gonna end up having to play the run more, counting on playing the run, bringing those corners up to play the run a little bit, and it's gonna open up the passing game and it could hurt us. So I think if Najee Harris has a big game, that's a big factor for them.
Go ahead, Kim. I'll let you shoot it next.
We talk about wide receivers, we talk about quarterbacks, we talk about running backs. But let's give Alabama's tight end Billingsley. Let's say he's going to be the impact player of the game. We got so much, there's a tendency to put so much focus on some of the bigger names, but as we've seen, this is also going to be on my other side of the ball. I think they're going to be just as big on Ohio State side, but Billingsley in the middle of the field. We talk about putting pressure on Mac Jones. We bring those linebackers up. Billingsley's in the middle, got the wide receivers on the side. They've been using him a lot more often, just like Ohio State's been using their tight ends a lot more often. That's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to go with Billingsley as Alabama's impact player.
Cool. Go ahead, Gavin. Give me your thoughts on who you think is going to be the impact player for Alabama.
I mean, I have two in mind. I mean, Jalen, I think he's gonna come back, but I don't think they're gonna I don't know how much of a impact he's gonna have. If he's gonna they're gonna go all out with him and do that so he doesn't get hurt again. I think the impact player of the game for Alabama. Well, maybe I think if Mac can get the ball off fast enough to these fast Alabama players, then this game is different.
So you think Mac Jones is going to be the impact player of the game? If he's able to get off, he's going to be the one?
Yeah, him and his receivers, because they're so fast.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I was probably going to touch a little bit about the Mac Jones thing. I know, Kimball had talked about Billingsley, which is huge. Nelson, you talked about Najee Harris. If Najee Harris is able to get off, I think we're in trouble, and you guys know that. Let's not be foolish. If Najee in that running game was able to get off, Ohio State's in a lot of trouble because then they're going to be able to open up the pass based off of the run. So that's going to hurt us. But yeah, I think Mac Jones has definitely got to be the player to keep an eye on. He's definitely the impact player of the game. The kid has the best, QBR in all of college. I think since they've been doing the ratings on it, I don't think that he's as good as the numbers say he is. I think that can be exposed in this Ohio State game. So in order for him, if he goes out and he has a phenomenal game, I think Alabama wins, and that's what is going to have to happen in order for Alabama to win the game. Is Mac Jones is going to have to play lights out because of the fact that, like, I think that Ohio State's going to be able to shut down the run game. So I think that the ball's going to be then put in his hand, and he's going to have to make the plays with it. So, all right, big guys. Let's get to the Ohio State impact player of the game. We'll keep the round table going the way it has been. Nelson, I'll let you get started with Ohio State's impact player of the game.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I think it's going to be Trey Sermon. If he can have a good game, like you said, on the other side, it's going to open things up for us on running on the other side, throwing the ball. And what you just said about Mac Jones, the one thing is this is the most comparable talent as far as to their squad that Alabama is going to face all year. They don't play anybody that's talented. They haven't played anyone that's talented all year. And so with that comes new pressures, what do they expect to do against this kind of talent on this side? I don't know. But it could, like you said, it could lead to mistakes for Mac Jones if that becomes the case. But I think it's Sermon. I mean, he's running really confident. He's almost carrying himself differently, even on the sideline. Him and Fields have really bought into the Ohio State culture. I mean, they're both transfers, and both of those guys have bought in. You listen to them talk about being Buckeyes, about the guys that they share the sideline with and their teammates. They love it. They love this football team. They love this school, and they're playing hard for the school. And Trey Sermon sees this is an opportunity for him. To come off of injury like that, had a couple good seasons at Oklahoma. But he ended up leaving. He would have been a starter in Oklahoma had he stuck around, given the injuries they had and stuff like that. Who knows what he could have done? But this is a chance for him to show out for the future and for his teammates. And I just think it's a big deal. If he comes out and has a great game, we got a really, really good shot at winning this thing, to winning another ninth championship, right?
Number 9. That's right.
Yeah, number 9, right?
Go ahead, Kimmel. You're up next. Shoot it.
The other side of the ball, I'm going to give it to a tight end again. Jeremy Ruckert has caught a couple touchdown passes here recently, but he's not my impact player of the game. Luke Farrell is going to be my impact player of the game, not for touchdown catches, but for his blocking ability. His blocking ability is second to none. If he can get off and let Trey Sermon and or Master Teague and or Justin Fields, whoever's running the ball, if he can dominate and hold his guy and whoever else is in front of him, that's going to be a big deal in the game. So Ohio State impact player of the game, Luke Farrell. Give me somebody unknown other than the flashy names.
No, that's awesome. That's a good pick because them tight ends were huge in that Clemson game, and you know that. I mean, Luke Farrell and Jeremy Ruckert combined for three of the 6 touchdowns that Justin had that game. And so definitely big impact players of the game. Go ahead, Gavin.
I can tell you real quick. Go ahead. I'm sorry, bud.
No, you go.
I was going to say that just from someone being in Columbus and everyone here waiting for the tight ends to be used in this offense. I mean, Ruckert was the number 1 tight end in the country coming out of high school. So people have been waiting for us to be able to fully utilize them. And we had Stoneburner a few years ago. We've had some good tight ends here. Vanette's in the league. We've been putting guys, Heiserman or whatever his name is. So we've put guys in the league that haven't been prolific pass catchers here. But this kid both of these guys have caught the ball really well. And I think that they've got an opportunity to, if they can utilize this, it's going to continue to train a talent coming to Ohio State as far as tight ends go, if they actually put them to use. And now you're starting to see it as a weapon. You're right. I mean, it's an exciting time, to see this offense right now. Like I said, this is only game number 8. This is when they're hitting their stride. So it's going to be exciting.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Gavin. You're up next for the impact player of the game.
So I was gonna say Ohio State's running back, but the one that got the new record in the Big Ten championship. But I'm gonna go with Justin because I mean, even last game, like how we saw we saw bits and pieces of him because he was hurt. Like he was really hurt. Like I was watching Sports Center this day, and they showed him he like you should have saw his face. He looked like he was in pain. So
Hmm.
I think if he just picks away at Alabama defense, like he runs a few times and then he like throws some short passes, and then like every once in a while he'll throw one long, and but he just needs to like stick to running the ball really. I think and throwing short little passes.
No, definitely. I think Justin's going to definitely be a huge impact player of the game. He's we already know he's not going to be 100%. He's going to have to play out of his mind again in order to beat an Alabama team. Nelson touched on a go point with Trey being, the man. The tight end cores that Kimmel talked about is going to be huge. But I think that's all offensive side. I think I'm going to touch a little bit on the impact player of the game is going to have to be Wade. I think if he's able to lock down Devontae Smith and slow them down as far as them going to that side of the field over and over and over and over again. I think that's going to be huge for Ohio State's defense. We know where Ohio State's defensive line is capable of. We know what their linebackers are capable of. We talked about how Wade has lowered his stock as far as where he's going in the NFL now because of the way he's played. If he wants a shot to raise his stock back up, this is the game that he's going to have to do it in. So I think he's going to have to be the impact player of the game, based on the fact that he's got to lock down these big receivers from Alabama, and he's got to get his fellow defensive backs to do the same. They've got to be on top of it. They've got to be ready to go. And like I said, I think that Wade's going to be my impact player of the game.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity for him. If he can, you're not going to shut Devontae Smith down. But if you could mitigate your damages a little bit, keep the ball in front of you, keep him out the end zone, that's going to go a long way to helping this team, win another championship.
And keep the penalties to a minimum. Keep the penalties to a minimum because penalties in college are huge. Yeah, PI in college is huge because it just you can get that all of a sudden you're down on the 10-yard line, about to put it in the red zone. So. Yeah.
Right.
Keeping it clean.
Yeah. All right. What we're going to do now is we are going to give our predictions on the game. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys up all solo and kind of let you give a little score prediction on what you think the game is going to go, how it's going to go. I know we're probably going to all be a little bit biased towards Ohio State, and that's okay. I really don't care. I did give some Alabama fans opportunities to come onto this chat as well and give their side of the story. So with that being said, I'm gonna start with you first, Nelson, kind of let you get on, and then we'll kind of go from there. All right.
Sounds good. I am my prediction is the Buckeyes 42, Alabama 38. I think it's going to come down to the defense. If they can step up and just stop them on key drives and get the ball back and eat up a little bit of clock, I think they got a really good shot at winning this game. I know that they have the talent to do it. I know we've got the coaching to do it. So I'm looking at 42-38 Buckeyes. And it may be Alabama coming back to get 38 and maybe making it look better than it is.
Okay. Sorry, that's I'll pull that one down. We'll go back. All right, Kimmel, you're up. I'm gonna go ahead and put you solo screen. I'll let you do your prediction as well, Bo.
As much as we've talked and as everybody has talked about how just dominant the offenses have been for both teams, I think the game's going to start out slow. I think they're going to both feel each other out. I think Saban is who Saban is. I think Ryan Day wants to prove he is is supposed to be in that upper echelon. So I think they're going to try to feel each other out. I think the offenses and defenses on both sides of the ball for both teams are going to feel each other out. I think it's going to break open somewhere around the second quarter. And then whoever minimizes those penalties is going to come out the victor. We talked about the over-under being at 75. I think Alabama's 7.5 point favorite. But I'm a Buckeye fan. 35-34, Ohio State. We squeak it out. We get number 9, and we get to hear from all the SEC and Alabama fans for the next year about how we only played 8 games and we didn't deserve to be in there.
Good one.
And that's true. All right. Let's see. All right, Gavin, you're up. I'm going to let you give me a second. Let me put you solo screen, and then we'll let you go ahead and give you a prediction on it as well.
Okay, so I think our defense, they're going to have a really big game against Alabama. Mainly because we can't let Mac get the 40-yard pass. Like, we can't let him get those big yard passes because that might hurt us in the long run. And so our defense is really gonna need to try to like make sure that he doesn't throw those long passes, and he has to stick to like throwing it like Alabama really does sometimes. So I think my scope is I think the score is going to be 35-42 Buckeyes. Really, 35-42 Buckeyes.
I can tell you're my son because that's the exact same score that I picked too. It's too funny.
I have one more thing to say. One more thing to say.
Go ahead.
Oh wait.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do my little prediction. Yeah, I think that it's gonna be a good ball game. My prediction is the same as Gavin's. It's gonna be 42-35. I think Ohio State. It's gonna be a good ball game. I do think that whoever is able to get their run game off is where it's going to be at because it's going to open up so many other avenues for the rest of the game, for their passing game and stuff like that. When we were talking earlier, I was saying how I thought that the run game is going to be able to slow down the other team's offense and keep them off the field. That's a hope and wish factor for us to have going against Alabama, who is lights out, and it was the same kind of issue that we had when we were going against Clemson with keeping their offense off the field and trying to do the same with them. So, yeah, that's my prediction is 42-35 Ohio State, and we bring it home again. So it's what the plan is right now is what we're hoping. So we'll see if it comes to fruition or not, fellas.
That was good. Hey,
Right. Yeah,
I appreciate you having me on, man. I appreciate getting to meet John here and see your boy, listen to his insights. It's fun, exciting to see young people into it like this, man. We grew up in Lorraine. We had a couple people that I played baseball with, Eric Morgan, and watched Raymond Harris play back home and see those guys become Buckeyes at some point to pique my interest when I was younger. And so it's good to see them into the numbers, into the stats, especially when so much is so accessible for them right now. Like everything that the tip of your fingers, man, you can find all that information out. It's real cool, man. So good job, Gavin.
Thank you.
Hey, real quick, Coach Ryan Day, I'm sorry. I apologize how I opened up this. I apologize. Don't come to the game like I came to this game. Be awake, drink your coffee, whatever you need to do. I don't care. Do
You sipping at
35
your
extra
coffee like
push-ups.
after that, like, did I
Be hyped up.
had COVID?
I
What the
apologize.
hell?
I'm glad you're coaching. I'm glad you're in the game. I'm sorry.
Right.
I have a celebration
Go ahead.
for the Browns. They haven't made it in 18 years, so
Making the playoffs.
yeah.
No, that's cool. And we didn't get to talk about that because this was a college special, but super cool for the Browns. Super happy Totally appreciative to you guys, Nelson and Jonathan, to be able to come on. I know you guys are busy guys, and since starting this show, Nelson, you've been a huge inspiration to me and a big backer of me with doing this show. So I truly appreciate you being able to come on, and I'm going to have you on more in the future as well. Kimmel, you and I have known each other for a long time. You were, one of my groomsmen in my wedding, and you were there for us, and what I'm saying? So totally appreciate you. You're a super funny guy. I know you're super smart, and you know a lot of stuff about sports as well. So I knew I could reach out to you, and you'd be in for it as well. So totally appreciate you guys for coming on. Gavin, I love you, buddy. You're great, and you keep doing you, man. So yeah, what I'll do now is I'll give you guys all a second to speak your piece, give your last shout out, and then I'll get ready to send it off. So go ahead, Nelson. I'll let you do yours first.
I want one thing to say, man. OH, baby.
IO.
That's it. I'm good, man. I'm good. This has been fun, man. This has been a good time.
Oh, cool, man. I appreciate you. Go ahead, Kimmel. You got any last words?
Yeah, shout out to the wifey. She we went on a little late lunch date today, and then she left the house. She's been out shopping. Who knows? I'm out of my bank account definitely got less, but I had some time and an opportunity to spend with y'all. Hey, Gavin, a pleasure to talk to you, buddy. I got a son that's 19. He's full of quote unquote fun facts, all sports trivia, all sports knowledge, all the stats. Keep it up. Your father is a great man, and you have a lot to look forward to. Nelson, pleasure to meet you. Always great to meet the family and the Ohio State family. So looking forward to 2021. As much as it's been a downer for so many people in 2020 with what's been going on with COVID, you keep your head up, you keep your eyes on the prize, and all that negativity and all that other stuff just kind of goes to the wayside. So I just want to impress that on everybody, and just give that reflection.
No, I appreciate you,
man.
Go ahead, Gavin. Give your last little shout out, bub.
Yeah. Until next time, you've been Gavinized.
That's the end of his show. All right, fellas, I'll put you guys in the back, and I'm gonna do my my final words and my quote of the day, and then we'll chat it up right after the show ends.
Thanks, Tony.
Appreciate you guys.
Take care.
Yeah, I truly appreciate those guys and that they were able to come on, man. Super happy to sit around and chop it up about the college football playoff. I don't know if I would have been as in tune to probably talk about the college football national championship game if it wasn't for the fact that the Buckeyes are in it. Super excited that they are. Can't wait for the game Monday night. We made some changes to my shows. My shows are usually on Sunday nights at 8:00. But because of the fact of what Gavin brought up, that the Browns are actually in the playoffs for the first time in many years, we were able to change the schedule around, bring it back to Saturday night at 7. And luckily I was able, like I said, to get Nelson to come on and get Kimmel to come on and get Gavin to come on. And all of us just chatted up about, college football and the playoff and the ups and downs of the season and everything that we've gone through. And truly appreciate those guys. And just super excited for Monday night. Can't wait. So with that being said, I'm going to do my final quote of the day. I'm going to be out. My final quote of the day is, it is what it is, but it will be what you make of it. There's so many times that we get stuck in situations and things don't go right for us, but you keep trying and you keep trying, and it will be always what you make of it. So with that being said, the business, let's be real, over, out.